Okay, it has just ticked over 12:30, so we might start this session. So welcome to the information session for the 2020 Honours Year for BMS. My name is Tim Cole. I'm in the Department of Biochemistry in the BDI, and I'm the BMS Honours Convener for the fourth year of the Honours course. Right, so in the next 20 to 25 minutes, what I'm going to do is go through some information on what is the Honours Year, what does it entail, information on what you need to do to qualify, how you're going to apply, and then I've got some slides detailing some of the departments, schools and institutes and locations where you can look for and find a project that you can do next year. So as I'm sure most of you know, the Honours Year, it's a research-focused year where you are attached to a researcher somewhere who has an affiliation somewhere within the Faculty of Medicine. And at the moment, that covers 5 physical locations, right? So Clayton, AMREP at Paran, the Southern Clinical School or Monash Medical Centre, Notting Hill General Practice, and Rural Health down at Churchill in Gippsland. So we offer projects across all of those 5 locations, right? And I've got slides at the end. So the slides that I'm showing, will be up on Moodle. You've got plenty of time to look at that at your leisure. After this presentation, we've got lunch over on the ground floor of Building 7677. The BDI area, and a number of the Honours coordinators will be there. We've got project booklets, and you can start to discuss about the process. And you know, the key thing is really deciding where you want to take up your Honours project for next year. All right. Okay. So, what is the BMS Honours Year? All right. So, as I said, it's a research-focused year where you have a research project that you undertake from roughly when you start, late February, and that goes all the way through to mid to late October when you submit a final honours thesis report, a document that will be assessed. And as we'll see in a minute, it forms a large part of the assessment for the honours year. So it's research focused. It's not all about doing research, although it's heavily focused on that. We also have a range of coursework assessments under a coursework unit, and operationally for your final mark it contributes 25% of your honours score. And the reason why the coursework is important is that we're not only giving you an opportunity to work in a lab and get involved in cutting edge research and science in a particular medical area, but we need to continue to hone and develop your so-called research and generic skills in biomed. And that involves being able to look at scientific and biomedical literature, critically analyse it, be able to present that in a concise way to an audience, either as an oral presentation or write a concise scientific document, right? And you'll do that twice through the honours year. These are generic skills that you can take to really a whole range of different jobs and vocations, not just in the research scheme, but with companies, with government. So if you're a research officer or someone that's looking at public data, these are the kind of skills that you'll need to undertake those types of jobs. Obviously, in the university setting, it provides you with an opportunity to see whether you'd like to continue and do research further in another research degree, postgraduate degree, or perhaps just working in a lab. All right, so the course contributes 75% of your mark is from your research project, and as we'll see, that comes from 3 assessments, and 25% of the mark comes from coursework units, of which operationally there are 3 assessment marks. And the coursework is very much completed at the end of semester 1, so we get that out of the way early, so that for the rest of the time you can concentrate on your project. Right, in relation to the project, the research project can occur anywhere across the Faculty of Medicine, and it's very much different. Every student will have a different project, so your honours experience will be very unique, right, from the person sitting next to you. All right, so why should you do honours? I've kind of touched on this already. It will help to continue your personal and professional development in generic skills that you can take away from Monash to really any type of vocation or job. It will enhance your job prospects, so employers will know that you've done a 4-year degree, not a 3-year degree, basic degree, and that you have all of these extra skills or improved skill sets. So it makes you much more employable, we think. Because it's an entree into research, it will allow you to enter into further research degrees. So we've got PhD here, but there are master's programs as well, both here at Monash or really at any university around Australia, and even internationally. We've had honours students from both BMS and Science who go to Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, Harvard to do a postgraduate degree. Obviously, we'd like you to stay here at Monash, if possible. Finally, it will enhance your prospects, potentially go into other courses. And we know that a lot of BMS students are interested in graduate medicine, so it will contribute to your GPA. Okay, so it might give you a greater chance of entering that course, but also other allied health courses as well. Right, and finally, it will really allow you to evaluate whether biomedical research is something you'd like to pursue as a career through a higher degree or working for a drug company or another company that does research. All right, let's look at the various components that I've briefly mentioned. They're listed here. So operationally, we split the honours course into 2 accessible units. There's a research work unit. That's the Biomedical Research Project. It's a 36-point unit, BMS 4100, and it has 4 so-called assessments. 3 of them are assessed numerically, and there's a initial seminar that gives you some practice at communicating your project in a concise fashion. It's a 10-minute talk, and it's kind of an opportunity for you to get feedback on the way in which you presented your, in this case, your project and the background. The other 3 components are assessed. You write a literature review, contributes 10% of this unit's mark. A final seminar on what you did in your honours year, the research outcomes. You present, it depends on the department or school, but it's generally anywhere from a 15 to a 20-minute presentation, and then some time for questions from the audience. And you present that to your peers within your department or school, and a panel of assessors who mark your talk. And then finally, the big one is you write a thesis, maximum 15,000 words, so it's a fairly hefty document in a concise fashion. That contributes 80% of your research work unit. As you can see, and you'll see that overall it contributes 60% of your honours year, so it's a very important document to write that in the best of your ability. And we clearly make sure that you're out of the lab at least 4 weeks before the deadline, so you've got time to write that up. Right? So you've got the best chance of obviously maximising your marks. All right, so that's the research work component. The coursework unit, BMS 4200, is a 12-point unit. As I said, we run this really in semester 1, and it's composed of 3 assessments. The 2 assessments I'll just talk about first before the discipline-specific component. There's a Common Core Biostatistics module or unit that we run, and that at the moment is a series of 6 1.5-hour workshop/lectures that occur in weeks 1 to 6 of semester 1. And this is assessed by an MCQ test that occurs late in one of the workshop weeks, and then finally an assignment where the lecturer will give you some data and ask you to analyse it using biostatistics tools. Right? So that's the Common Core Statistic module. All of the BMS students do that together. At the moment, we run lectures here at Clayton, and we duplicate that out at AMRET because we end up having quite a lot of students out at Paran, and it just saves you coming in to Clayton in the first 6 weeks. The second common assessment is the written critique. that contributes 30%, so the Common Core Biostatistics contributes 30 and 30. Here, this is a sit-down 4-hour exam where we supply you with 6 published articles that span the breadth of the biomedical science disciplines and ask you to read it and critically analyse it. All right? We take away the title, take away the abstract, and you choose one of those 6 and write an abstract, suggest a title, and answer a series of questions on the data and the outcomes of the paper. What we do before that exam is actually run a workshop and to run through that exercise as a group, and that helps to make sure that you know how to approach that for the actual exam. All right, so this written critique exam is normally scheduled in early June, so it's kind of towards the end of semester 1. All right, the discipline-specific component. This are some assessments that are run by your department, school, institute, depending on where you are, and that contributes 40% of this unit. And this is normally composed of at least 2 exercises, normally 1 oral, 1 written. In my department, in biochemistry, we present to the students 8 lectures on advanced biochemical techniques or approaches, and then I assess that with 4 online MCQ exam questions, or series of questions. And then the second part of this is a journal club, where students present a paper from the literature, all right, to the rest of the students. And then that contributes 40% of this coursework. But this discipline-specific component will vary across the departments, schools or institutes, and you'll get details of that depending on where you decide to locate yourself. And that's all about where you are for your project. All right, you're linked to a department or a school. All right, so these are full year units. Every year a couple of students like to know what they got for their coursework, because obviously we finished that in the middle of year, but the faculty will not allow us to release that mark, because I know some students like to include that in applications for other courses. Right? But unfortunately, we cannot do that. We have to wait until the end of the year. All right, qualifying for honours. There are 2 main requirements. One of them, obviously, you have to have finished your basic 3-year degree. You have to, of course, complete it. So you must have finished all of the units and requirements for your past degree. And then finally, because the honours year is it's intensive and requires a fairly high level of work, we have a bar set that we require students to have a distinction average for 24 points of their 3rd year. That's half their 3rd year units. So you can include your 2 12-point cores or 1 core unit plus 2 6-point units. And that must average 70. Remember, it's an average, not every unit being 70 or above. So you can have a high distinction and a credit in there will get you above the 70% average. But that's the level, the academic level that we require for qualifying for honours. So they're the 2 requirements that you need to make. All right, project. This is the really important thing, because you need to select a project that you feel you can do your best at, and that you're comfortable with the area, and finally comfortable with the laboratory and the supervisor. So this is all very much student-driven. The student selects or goes and makes an agreement with the supervisor to take on a project. All right, so this is, we really run this information session early on in semester 2 to give you plenty of time to look around. Departments, institutes, schools, different campuses. The final applications aren't due until November the 15th. So you've got almost 3 or 4 months to really have a good look around and choose a project that suits you. All right, so in relation to the project, does it interest you? Do you want to work on cancer, neurobiology, stem cells, have a more clinically related project, work in a hospital, look at clinical data? Do you want to work in public health, at the Alfred? There are a range of institutes that are affiliated to Monash that you can take a project there. And really, the breadth is enormous, depending on particularly what part of biomed, part of the biomed discipline you want to work in. All right, so the choice is really yours. All right, supervisors, go and talk to them. Contact them, set up a meeting, talk to them about the project, make an assessment on whether you can work with them. They need to be personable, organised. The project needs to be realistic. You know, if the guy says, "Oh, look, we're going to cure cancer in 9 months," you know, that might be a bit tough. Or, you know, develop a drug that will take to the clinic in 9 months, that might be a bit tough too. So the project has to be reasonable and generate enough positive results that you can write up a good story or a thesis at the end, right, that will be assessed. Find out if there are any co-supervisors, who's going to look after you in the lab or in the hospital. Sometimes the supervisors are very busy. You might only see them, you should see them at least once a week, but you might sometimes only see them once a month in meetings. Who's looking after you day to day is important because they're the ones who are training you. Honours is a training year on how to approach and undertake research, and there are lots of skills. There are technical skills in the lab, learning how to undertake techniques to generate data that you have to learn. And, you know, right up front, not everything works. Things will not work. How many of you have already done a research in action or a summer, winter scholarship in the lab? You know, so you probably realise now that, you know, technically doing experiments is not straightforward. Although these days with kits and online, you know, you can send things away for analysis. With the platforms we have here at Monash, that does mean that you can generate data fairly quickly from samples that you can generate. So not like the old days where we used to have to make up everything. I think my honours student this year hasn't made a buffer all year. Whereas when I went through, you'd be making up your own buffers. So unfortunately, pH meters are becoming a bit redundant in wet labs these days. All right, so supervise the environment. How is the lab? Is it big? Is it small? You can go and talk to people, go and talk to students, find out what they're doing. You know, is that going to be a good environment for you to work in? As I said, it's all about learning approaches to doing research, approaching a problem. And through the year, you'll find that you'll have your own questions. You might say, look, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? And that's all about your professional development in being able to understand the area of the project and approaches. Okay, where can I do honours? I've mentioned all of these sites already. So obviously on the Clayton campus, AMREP at Paran, at the Monash Medical Centre, so our so-called Southern Clinical School in these areas. All of these departments, schools and institutes will have separate honours information sessions from now until almost the end of September. Go to as many as you want to, or go to the ones where you would really like to work and talk to people. Right. Each of these areas and department schools have specific honours coordinators that you can talk to. In the context of management of the program, we have an honours management committee that meets every 1 to 2 months through the year. I chair that committee, and you're the honours coordinators from the different locations on that committee. So there's a good feedback and management system for the honours program because we're so spread out. Right, and we also select or students volunteer to be student reps on the committee from each location, and that gives us an opportunity to get feedback every couple of months on how it's all going. And that's very, very useful and very important. All right, so these are the locations. You can really talk to any people at these locations, the various coordinators. Just keep in mind in the context of travel, we've tried to reduce the mandatory travel that students have to make. It's more with the coursework components. So the written critique exam, you all attend and do that at Clayton, but that's only one day in early June. And the biostats lectures, we run those at Clayton and at AMREP. So it's all a matter of which is closer. We used to have the biostats module only run at Clayton, and obviously the AMREP people found it tough sometimes coming in and out, particularly in the morning. All right, so they're the locations. Now you'll see that the locations really are really those places that are affiliated and linked with Monash. So if you want to do honours at the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute or somewhere up at Parkville that has no affiliation with Monash, unfortunately we can't enrol you. You have to go to Melbourne University. We get a few students asking, can I do it such and such up there and as a Monash student? Well, unfortunately not, and this is all about duty of care. We need to make sure that we know that place He's running a good program. We don't know anything about the supervisors, so we just need to make sure that you're placed in the appropriate environment. All right? So this is where you can do your honours. All right, so we have time, that's fine. Once you've found a supervisor in a project, these are the three things that you need to do. You need to, obviously, at the local place, department, school, institute, they'll all have a project form. You need to fill that out, get your supervisor to sign it, and then give it to the coordinator. And that's really so they know which students have signed up projects in their local department or school, and how many students are they expecting for the next year. In some cases, it's also so that supervisors don't suddenly sign up 5 honours students, which can almost break them. We've had a couple of examples of that because it's quite intensive supervision. All right, so there's a project form. You then have to register that project online, and there's at the moment a Google page to do that. We've got a new website that's starting up soon, but at the moment we're just running with this Google page to do that. And then finally, you have to actually apply through admissions online to do the BMS Honours year. So don't forget to do that as well. Occasionally we'll have students who do the first 2 and then suddenly contact us and say, I haven't got an offer for honours, and they haven't actually applied through the normal admissions process. All right, all of this must be done by Friday, November the 15th, so you've got plenty of time to do that. And as I said, from now until then, go to as many of these information sessions as you would like to or can, and then start talking to supervisors. Question?
A lot of us won't know what we're doing next year until
Yes.
December, January.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the deadline.
Okay, our advice is always, if you think honours is something that you may do or are highly likely to do, apply anyway.
Can you pull out with no ramifications?
Okay, if that's the situation, and we know that a lot of students are applying for a whole lot of different things, just tell your supervisor up front. Just say, look, I'd love to do the project, but I'm also applying for this, just so that they know, because it's really just about being up front with them, and so everyone knows the potential outcomes. All right. I mean, it is a bit. Some supervisors get a bit annoyed when they have no idea that the student isn't arriving on, February the 24th, and suddenly they get an email the day before, and they've organised a mouse, a particular mouse strain and antibodies, and the project's set to go, and suddenly the student's not there. So I think just keep them updated is the key thing, because we understand that you're looking at a whole lot of options. But
From a logistical perspective, like admissions and stuff.
yes, look, you can go in and do that. You can cancel that at any stage. Yeah, so that's absolutely fine. So we just advise, and obviously with the distinction average requirement, you won't know your results until, was it December the 6th or whenever the results come out for semester 2. So if you're kind of on the borderline, we just say, look, apply anyway, and then you can look at what the final options are once your marks come out. All right. All right, and finally, the start date next year, also just put that in your diary, is actually O Week, which is next year's Monday the 24th of February. There will be some induction and OHS mandatory sessions in that week that all honours students need to go to. All right. Again, this is all about duty of care and making sure that you're well informed of the occ health and safety requirements, particularly if you're working in a wet lab, right, with lots of nasty chemicals and machines and equipment. All right, so we just need to make sure. Obviously, you'll be supervised day to day, and you'll have supervision to go through that. But we just need to make sure that you're safe through the year. Okay. All right. So obviously, questions about project, contact your honours coordinators. Questions about administration process, go through Ask Monash that you should be aware of. It's been up and running for a while. And there's additional information on this Google Doc site, and as I said, we've got a new BDI website that incorporates the BMS Honours program that will be live soon. I'm being promised, which is a bit of a struggle. All right, but now, as I said, this information and this PowerPoint will be. What we might do is put it on all of the Moodle sites for third year, so that you can access that and have a look at it. As I said, look, there's no rush. You've got plenty of time. Right, to look at where you want to go. All right, so just briefly, just some slides from the different departments and institutes. We'll just quickly run through. Department of Anatomy, remember there are 5 departments in the BDI/School of Biomedical Science. Anatomy and Dead Biology, the Honours Coordinator is Olga Panagiatopoulou, and you can contact her. They have an Honours Information session on Monday, August the 26th, downstairs. Here's me. I'm the Honours Coordinator for Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. And we're actually having a third-year dinner. We've got a slightly different kind of process. That's on Tuesday, August the 27th. We've got space. So if students would like to go to that dinner, it's at the Monash Club. It's free. It's a buffet dinner. And we've got 2 early mid-career researchers giving short talks on research and their journey. I keep telling them to have some really nice pictures of where they did their postdocs overseas. If you'd like to go to that, please RSVP to me via my email address. As I said, I've got 20 to 30 places available. Yes. You could probably RSVP in the next couple of weeks because it's still a fair way off. I'll probably send an email around to the BMS cohort as well. All right. So if you get back to me in the next couple of weeks, check your. Obviously, people will have sometimes things on, sport, other engagements. But if you find as though you've got that night free and you'd like to go, just contact me. We'll be fine. All right. So it's Biochemistry, Honours in Microbiology. The 2 coordinators are John Boyce and Julian Rood, and they've got an honours session in September 26th at Clayton. Pharmacology, the honours coordinator is Barbara Kemp, and they've got an information session on the 18th of September. Physiology, they very smartly have 3 honours coordinators. I'm not sure how they do that. So they split the workload. And they've got honours information kind of over lunchtimes on September the 5th and September the 6th. And you can look at projects in the fields of systems biology, systems physiology. Lots of, you can see that the types and numbers of projects are enormous that you could look at across the faculty. All right, so we've got a special institute, the Australian Regenerative Medicine Institute, that's based at Building 75, above Chinkalira coffee shop that everyone knows. And they do research into stem cells and regenerative medicine, so the key research areas are here. They've got a student open day on August the 29th, so go to that if you're interested. Okay, down to the Monash Medical Centre. The Hudson Institute is a large institute that's affiliated to Monash, and they have key areas in reproduction, cancer, immunity, infection, endocrinology, and the Ritchie Centre that studies women's health and baby health. Contact Mark. We didn't have the information to put their information session, but just go to their website and that information will be available. The School of Clinical Sciences down at the Monash Medical Centre. Again, very much clinically based, but the research groups cover these types of clinical diseases: cancer, neuroscience, infection, cardiovascular disease, clinical medicine. Yeah. Yes, honours, yeah, come in. School of Public Health, so we're moving out to the Alfred Hospital at AMREP. If you want to study a project that looks at clinical outcomes, projects in public health and preventative medicine, you can contact them out there. The Central Clinical School that involves a whole range of different institutes. There's Monash University departments, there's the Baker Institute, the Burnett, the Alfred Hospital clinical departments, and they specialise in a range of obviously clinically focused biology and diseases. So contact Justin Hamilton, Margaret Hibbs, or Vilija Jokabatis. And have they got a... Yeah, again, go to their websites and you'll find their information sessions. But I thought that was listed there somewhere. Okay. And finally, the 2 other campuses, we've got the... you can do honours in the Department of General Practice. So Chris Barton, who is down here at the front, you can chat to Chris about projects looking at general practice. There's a whole range of projects that he can talk to you about. And then finally, honours in the School of Rural Health, which is run at Churchill. in Gippsland have a whole range of projects involved in themes of regional clinical care, health professionals in rural communities, training doctors, enhancing knowledge. And Dr. David Reeser is up the back, and Dave, you can talk to David over at the lunch about projects at rural health. Okay. All right. So that's it